Now that we've installed the rotational engraving adapter, we'll go through a quick project to engrave on the face of this glass. Before installing the rotational piece into the rotational adapter, we need to measure its diameter using the calipers. I can see that the diameter of this particular piece is 3.125. So we'll note that for later. To install the workpiece, place the open end of the workpiece over the cone-shaped headstock, as shown. Bring the tailstock forward and clamp into place with the red handle. In Corel Draw, we will need to adjust the orientation of our content from the typical up orientation that we view on the screen to a 90 degrees to the right orientation. You'll see that this is the case because the glass that we installed in the laser cutter, the opening that is the top of the glass is actually facing the right rather than facing away from us in the laser cutter. So to do that, I can select my text and select this button on the right-hand side and choose to rotate the object so that it faces in the orientation that I want. Then I can go File, Print, and select Preferences next to the printer name. This will bring up the UCP configuration settings. My glass is made of glass from the menu for presets. You'll see there's two categories. There's lead crystal and then there's soda lime glass. The vast majority of glass that's commercially available and all the glass provided by the Library Innovation Studios project is soda lime glass. Lead crystal glass would only typically be encountered in very expensive new cut glassware or in certain antiques. If you're not certain, there's a number of resources available to help you to determine which type to use. Dropping down to the bottom, there's a menu where we can select the fixture type. Well, this is normally states none or that we have our pin table. We drop down and select the rotary fixture. We've applied it in the laser cutter. And then we insert the diameter of 3.125 inches for the material in this menu. We click Apply, click OK. This takes us back to our print menu. Click Print, and then we can open the Universal Control Panel on the desktop. Once we've done this, you see the Universal Control Panel looks a little bit different. You'll see I can only move the text right and left along the field using my relocate tool. I don't have the ability to move it up or down because the computer automatically wraps the text around the outside of the piece on which we're engraving. The next thing I need to do is estimate the position of the text on the glassware piece that I intend to engrave. I can use the grid across the top and then estimate that the position I want is about 2/3 of the way to 3/4 of the way towards the right-hand side. Using the door in the open position from the laser cutter, I can press Start to preview our engraving position without actually engraving the work. When you're happy with your results and have your text or graphic in the correct location for your workpiece, go ahead and press Start, remembering to turn on the air filter before you do so. After your engraving process is complete, we can open the laser cutter, lift the red handle on the tailstock, and lift out our workpiece. One important post-processing step for any engraved glass product processed with this laser is cleaning the surface with water and a mild abrasive surface like a paper towel or sponge. The reason for that is the glass develops a very sharp textured surface at the microscopic level, which is what causes the engraving. And there will be loose glass particles on the surface here that should be cleaned off before handling, otherwise they can get into your skin. In the setup menu, the laser cutter has an input field for material thickness. That is a slightly deceptive term in some ways, because what the laser cutter is actually asking for is the height of the work surface above the top of the surface that your material is sitting on. In the case of this glass, according to my calipers, the height of the work surface is approximately 3.56 inches. So if a person were to be engraving on the bottom surface of this glass, you'd want to enter the thickness into the system as 3.526 rather than this very thin thickness for the edge thickness. Whenever you're engraving on glassware that is for food contact, like the drinks glass, or for example, a large casserole dish, it's important to engrave on the side of the container that is less likely to have food contact. This makes it much easier to clean. So in the case of a glass, engrave on the outside of the drinking glass, or on a casserole dish, if you're engraving the bottom, it works better to engrave the bottom side. If you do engrave the bottom side, remember that the image will be reversed, so you'll need to compensate for this when you lay out your file in CorelDRAW.